Hi there folks, we are in Advanced Computer Apps on Excel Module 6, Managing Data with Data Tools. So we're going to be doing Excel 6-14a, the practice review, and it says we need the NP EX6-3 file. So in your files for our Canvas class, let's go to Reviews, Excel, and remember we hit the three dots all the way over on the side to download this file and put it into your Excel 6 folder. And then let's open that up to use in Excel. So this file is going to be, it's got several tabs down here. What we're going to be doing is we're supposed to be tracking the hiring process for new recruits for this company. So people have like phone interviews, and then like a manager interview and an on-site interview, and maybe they get the job and maybe they don't. So we're going to be working with all of that material here and then creating what they're going to call a dashboard in here that we can connect to that data. So enable editing and let's save as. You need to save it as EX6-recruit. So we're going to replace that back part here after the 6 with an underscore recruits. All right. In the documentation sheet, you're going to go ahead and start off by entering in your name and the date. I like to use the fancy function for the date, which is equals. Now open and close parentheses. There's also equals today, open and close parentheses, which would put in the current date as well. So we're going to go into this applications worksheet for starters, and in this one, we can see all the dates for all those people, like I mentioned before. If you see an NA, it means they didn't make it to that next stage. So that's the way that's going to work. And there's this table data one, if you like really want to know what everything means, that's there. But they don't really have you get into that part at all. Okay, so what we're going to do is, again, we're using the applications worksheet to begin. And we're going to use conditional formatting. So we're going to use this button here on the Home tab. Now, you probably are going to need to highlight the range first, because if we click here to highlight cells and duplicate values, which is what we're going to do, we have to have something selected or it has nothing to apply that to. So it's going to have us to select a really big range, A5 to A1043. So in the name box here, in order to highlight all of that so we don't have to scroll down 1,000 rows, you're going to put A5 colon and then A1043 and just hit enter and it will select that entire section. Okay, so now that we have that there, we are going to locate records with a duplicate in them using conditional formatting, so it's going to turn them red. We're going to click conditional formatting, highlight cells rules, and then duplicate values. And it's looking for two that are the same because we don't want to look through 1,000 to try to figure out which two are the same. We just leave it at the defaults because it didn't tell us to do anything differently. You're going to hit OK. And then if you scroll down, which, you know, we have 1,000 records, so it's going to take a little time here. One of these eventually is going to be in color. Well, two of them because they're duplicates. So we'll just kind of keep on keeping on down here. And eventually, there we go, in the 700, 763, 764. You can see we have two records that are in there for this person. So what we're going to do is delete that second record. It looks like somebody messed up and didn't have him in there continued. So we're going to delete that second record. You're just going to highlight the row using the little button here and then right click and delete. And we're just going to delete that record. Now notice that makes his other record not red because we no longer have a duplicate. So we are going to leave that rule in there, but when you go to conditional formatting, these are called rules, and you can manage the rules if you have a rule in here. So if for some reason we did want to get rid of this rule, we could click on it and delete it. It tells us not to, because then if we do have a duplicate in the future, it would show up. Or we could create new rules, or we could still edit this rule if we wanted to change it to be like a different color or something like that. Now you have to be in this range to see the rules for the range. Okay, so that's that first one. That's actually number 4 in the instructions. Number 5 says that there's a whole applicant record that is duplicated for all the fields except the applicant ID. So we're going to use a different command this time. I'm going to get back up here to the top. Control Home to get back up to the top. We're going to click down here in this section where this area is and go to the Data tab. There is an option in the Data tab for us to remove duplicates. And what it does is it's going to check various columns for duplicate information. So I'm going to click on Remove Duplicates, and it says in here that we are checking for all the fields except the applicant ID field. So I'm going to unselect all of, I'm going to select all the fields except the applicant ID field. And when we do that, it's going to look for duplicates. So basically, like, somebody's name's in here more than once, and because it's in there more than once, they gave them another number, but they really shouldn't be in there more than once. So that's what that's going to do. All right, we're going to hit OK, and it's going to automatically say it found a duplicate, and it did, and it's going to remove it, and we hit OK. And so I don't know which one that is because it doesn't tell us, but that's what's going on there. Okay, next in the applications worksheet, show how applicants are tracked through the recruitment process by sorting that data range by the position. So we're going to put these in alphabetical order by position. And then after that, we're going to sort them in date order by all of these. So acceptance date or application date or whatever, offer date, all these different dates here. Okay, so they're over here. I got to scoot over. So acceptance date, offer date, and so forth. Okay, and they give us a specific order. So this is a lot of sorting. Definitely you cannot just plain sort this. You're going to have to do a multiple sort. All right, so let's go back up to the Home tab, over to the Sort and Filter option. And if we click on that, we're going to have to do a custom sort because we can't just go hit each column or we would resort it every time. So custom sort. And then we have to start adding the levels for this sort. Again, make sure you're clicked down in this section so it can find the heading and find all the data. If for some reason you're getting an error, it might be because you're not clicked down in here. I like to click on A4 where the heading is. Okay, so first off, we're going to sort by position. And we're going to put that in alphabetical order, so that's A to Z. Then we're going to add a level. We actually have to add a bunch of levels here, so there's a whole bunch of this going on. So now acceptance date. So we're putting them by acceptance date. And these are newest to oldest. Okay, and then we're going to do this again. Offer date, newest to oldest, on-site date. Oops, that's not what that was. On-site date. Man, these are all going to be newest to oldest, but I'm going to add all these in here first. So on-site date, manager date, and then phone here. Okay, newest to oldest, newest to oldest, newest to oldest. Okay, so we've got all of those in there, and it's going to examine them in that order. And then what it's going to do, it's kind of cool because it puts them all in order by the position. So we have all the accountants together. And like these people didn't even get an interview. So because of the way we have it sorted, they had NA here, so that's up at the top. So people who actually had values for all of them, those are the people who were hired. Okay, so you kind of see all the applicants and then how it weeds down to the one that was hired. All right, great. So that's that first one. That's how we do a custom sort. Next, it says that we're going to filter the data in the applications worksheet to show only those records for which the value of the hired field is yes. So now that we have these all sorted, we are going to basically eliminate everybody except for these yeses here. Okay. Now, we need to sort them, or filter them rather, based on this hired field. But because we haven't made this into a table yet, we don't have filters just sitting out here taking a look at us. We can go to the Data tab. And we do have a filter icon here. So we can turn on filtering for the selected cells by clicking on this button. Again, under the Data tab. You can also go here, by the way, to get to your Sort button. So if I click here on Filter, now we get filter list arrows next to the headings. And then down here next to Hired, we're going to just select Yes. Great. Now we have only the yes people. So these are people who made it through every stage of the process and they were hired. Okay, now we're going to copy these filtered values and paste them into the Hires worksheet, scrolling in cell A4. Be careful here because the first time I did this, I didn't scroll over all the way. So make sure you're starting with applicant ID. So like if you're over here somewhere, make sure you come all the way back. We're going to go all the way over to there and then down. It doesn't give us the range, or we could type it in, but it's a lot of places. Okay, so there we are. We're going to just do a straight old copy paste. So Control-C copy or right-click copy. It's going to select those. Then we're going to go over to the Hires worksheet. It should already be in A4, but verify that it is, and then we're just going to paste. And you can just, from the Home tab, hit the big paste button. Okay, so that pasted just those records in there, so just the filtered ones, all the ones that say yes. So we've got all of those in there, and we're ready to go. Number 9, in the Hires worksheet, do the following. We're going to sort the data in descending order of position. So again, we need to access our sort, and we need to make sure that we are on position. So let's be clicked over here on position. We cannot sort anything because we don't have anything highlighted. So let's go into the custom sort so that hopefully it will find our headings and realize what we're working with. And it did. We're going to say sort by position, and we're going to put them in alphabetical order. Ascending order is standard alphabetical A to Z. We hit OK. And there we go. And they were probably already in alphabetical order because I think we put them in alphabetical order in here anyway. But anyway, so now we have them all ready to go. Now this is important because they must be in alphabetical order for this next feature to work. This is under the Data tab. They're having us to add subtotal rows. So in order to have subtotals, you have to have things grouped together by what you want to subtotal them on. So like we want all the accountants together, and we're going to do a subtotal, and all the content developers together, and you have to have them sorted first. So that's why they reminded us to make sure they were sorted. Okay, so we click on the subtotal. This only works in just a data range, so this cannot be in a table. It has to be in a data range. We're going to click subtotal. So at each change in position, so when it switches to each position, we're going to do an average for the base salary of that position. Okay, so those are the options that they have you to do. Now, sometimes they'll ask you to do more than one of these, and you can do more than one, but it doesn't have us to in this one. Okay, so we're going to hit OK. Now, here's what happens. So you see accountant, and the average salary of an accountant is $63,700 here. There's only one, so clearly. Content developer, though, from these 4, the average is going to be $53,000 or $59,300, and so forth and so on. And you can see how it puts those in there. Now let's examine what happened over here. It added this outline view to our document. If we click on the 1, it just shows us the grand average. See that? If we click on the 2, it shows us the averages for each of those and the grand, which is really cool if you think about it. If we had to go in and insert extra rows and then do a formula to do all of this, that would have taken a lot of time. Plus, we wouldn't have all these cool plus signs. And then if we hit 3, it opens the whole thing up. And you can just collapse or expand just one area if you wanted to. Okay, next they say we're going to freeze the panes at cell F5. So right here at F5, we're going to freeze it so that we can see the name and the position and the department, and we can always see these heading rows. So to do that, go to View, and you just go to Freeze Panes and plain old Freeze Panes. There is a Freeze Top Row or a Freeze First Column, but that doesn't work for us because we're freezing the top 4 rows and the first 5 columns. So plain old Freeze Panes. Now if we scroll over, we can see better that way, and if we scroll down, we don't lose our headings at the top. Okay, so that's the end of number 9. I'm going to go ahead and hit my Save button here just because, you know, it's important to save. Number 10 says return to the applications worksheet. So we're going to go back into here, and then it tells us to clear the filters from the data. So we'll go back into data, and where it says clear, we just hit that button, and now all those filters are cleared. So now we no longer just have the hired yes people. We have everybody in here. Okay. Number 11. A colleague of J6, whoever J6 is, wants specific information about 5 hires to the IT and marketing departments. So we're going to go to the IT and marketing hires worksheet here, and we're going to complete an advanced filter. So what they're going to have us to do is create, this is kind of a fancy little feature that they have that's built in. We're going to put the criteria in these boxes. Let's just go look at the data so you can see what's going on here. So we're looking at the 5 hires, so we're looking here. And we want from the IT and from the marketing department. So we need to see what they're called. Okay, so don't see any IT or marketing in there. Oh, here it is. Marketing is the one, and IT. I'm dumb. I'm looking at position. Okay, so we know to put just the word marketing and just the word IT into this criteria range. No, you can't put the and in there. You got to put them separately. Okay, so IT department, marketing department, and then the instructions give us some criteria here, which says if they're in the IT, we want base salaries that are greater than $70,000. Don't put the comma in, and don't put the $sign in. And then the other will be salaries greater than $60,000. So it's just like that. It's going to use the information in that little table to do the math for us and to run this OR function. So if we were in Access, this would be something that we would do on two separate lines in Access. But we are not in Access, we're in Excel, so we have this advanced filter that we can use. So we're going to go into, let me click over here on D4. We're going to go into our Data tab, where we're already at, and there's a button called Advanced here by the filter. I'm going to click the Advanced filter, and we are going to be copying the data, so we're going to click Copy, and then we have to fill in all of these ranges. So we're going to be clicking to select the range for various things. So this is going to be the criteria range, that second thing. And we're going to copy the information here to cell D4 when it's done. But we have to go figure out where is all the information that we're getting this from. And it tells us to use the data in the range A4 to N1041 of the applications worksheet. So we click this little button here. We go to the applications worksheet. And then right here in this box, we can type in that range, A4 colon N1041. Okay, and just hit enter. And so what it did now, it's got that as the list range. Okay, now criteria range. So in this box, it's telling us this is the applications worksheet, and this is those cells in the applications worksheet. The criteria range is going to be right here, A4 to B6, right there, in this worksheet. So see how it actually says IT and Marketing Hires worksheet? That's coming from here. And because it's multiple words, it puts it in like a single quotation mark deal, the apostrophes, where it didn't with the one that was only one word. Okay, and then copy to, we're going to copy it to cell D4 here. I'm going to click, because it has to know which one. It's the IT and Marketing Hires D4. Okay. So I know this seems super confusing, but it's just a matter of filling in the blanks properly. And we hit OK, and there they are. So what we have are the marketing and IT people, the marketing ones that are greater than $60,000, and the IT ones that are greater than $70,000 on salary. So that is correct. All right. Number 12, return to the applications worksheet. We're going back to that original worksheet here. We are going to turn this into a table now. So right now it's not a table, it's just data. It's what we call a data range. We're going to convert the data range to an Excel table. To do that, you just click on Insert and Table. And then it says, hey, here's your table, right? And you're like, yep. Your table has headers? Yep. Okay. All right. So you can always kind of tell that it's a table because it looks different. But the main reason you can tell is because when you're clicked in it, up here at the top, you now have table tools. Okay, now it wants us to name the table. So where it says table name here under table tools, instead of table 1, the default name, we're going to call it recruits and hit enter so that now that table has a name. And if we use it in formulas and stuff, it will have a name instead of that big long range that it is. Okay, so in this recruits table, it says we're going to do the following. Insert a new field named full name between the last name and position. So we're going to insert a field between these two. We're not going to use these buttons up here to insert columns because we actually want to insert it in this table itself. So you have to kind of right click in here in the table to get to it. Okay, and then insert, and then it says column to the left. So I got to make sure I'm in the right field to do that. It wants it between last name and position. So I need to click on position, insert, table column to the left. There we go. And that scoots everything over, gives me a new heading, and I can type full name in here. Now this is kind of a fun one here. We're going to create a formula using these names of these columns, and what we call a text string, some little code, I guess you would say. So I'm going to type equals because that's what you always type to start a formula or a function. And then what I want to say is we're going to put last name, comma, first name in here. And it's going to pull it from this column because right now it's separated. So I'm going to, you can click here and it'll say that at last name. Although you don't have to click there, you can just type it in like this. And when it pops up, press tab. Okay, so it's last name. And then an ampersand, and then a comma, because we need a comma in there. And that comma goes in quotation marks, because commas aren't allowed characters in the functions or formulas like that, okay? And then another ampersand, and then the bracket representing the fields, and I'm going to hit my down arrow 2 times for first name and press tab and then press that bracket to complete that. Now, it doesn't show, I don't think it shows in the book that there should be a space bar there, but if we hit enter, see how they're all spaced together like that? See, that's not right. So what we're going to do is come back up in here and put a space bar after that comma and then hit enter, and they should all update. So you have to have a space bar in there or they all run into each other. Okay, now we're going to insert a new field after base salary. So you're going to come over here to base salary. We're going to insert a new field. Now we don't have a way to add to the right, as you know. Well, I guess we do now. You can do that, but if you start typing adjacent to a table, it automatically puts the stuff in the table anyway. So we can type in days to hire here and just hit enter. And it like automatically pulls it into the table. Okay. Now in the days to hire field, we're going to use our mouse to enter a formula calculating the value of the acceptance date field in cell M5 minus the application date field in cell G5. We're going to use pointing and clicking to do this, so don't make it hard. I'm going to hit equals to start a function or a formula. And then we're going to take the acceptance date in M5 right here, and it puts in that little code, minus, and then the application date field. Now notice how it's not putting in M5 minus G5, and the reason is because this is in a table. And the cool thing about doing things in tables is it uses these names instead of the structured names instead of cell references because it's going to fill in this entire table for us. All right, so I'm going to hit enter. And it looks a little bit weird here, but that's okay. So these people didn't get hired, so they all say NA on there. Okay, but as we get farther in, the people who did get hired, then it says days to hire. But look at that, 2/9/1900. Well, that doesn't seem right. So it's not giving us a number, right? And we get farther down in here, these other ones are going to have them. We're not getting numbers, we're getting some random year. Well, that's because it entered it as a, well, basically as a date, and that's not what we want it to be. We want it to look at the dates, but to give us a number of days between these, not whatever in the world it's trying to do. So we are going to click on the heading of this column, and if you hold down your control key and hit spacebar, it selects the entire column. And then we're going to go up here on your home tab in the number section, and we're going to set this to general. There. Now let's scroll through and see if we actually have some numbers. There we go. So that took 40 days. We get farther down, 36, 35 days. Perfect. Then it says double click this so that this all is visible. All right, excellent. So that's all of number 13. 13 was a really long one. All right. Number 14, insert a slicer for the position field. So this one was kind of a weird one when I tried to do it the first time because it's going to have us move it to a different tab after we create this. But what a slicer is it's a way to do a filter kind of in a fun way, you might say. So I need to be clicked in here into my data. And then we go to the table design, and under tools, it's one of the tools like remove duplicates is called Insert Slicer. So I'm going to click on Insert Slicer, and it says to create a slicer, and it doesn't tell us what specific slices to put in. You can choose to only have certain ones. This one is just for position, but you could have multiple in here. Okay, so I have a slicer for the position field. I'm going to hit OK. Here it is. So this has a list of all the positions. You can see I can scroll through them. Now you can move the slicer and give it a different home by going into these settings, but for whatever reason they don't show us that way, and it doesn't work that way. So we're just going to change it to 2 columns, which is right here. There we go. And then we are going to move it to the metrics worksheet by just doing a simple Control-X to cut, go to the metrics worksheet and Control-V to paste, and then there it is. It wants us to put it in the range B4, roughly there, to B13. So there we go. Something like that. You should be able to see all of the items without having to scroll. All right, so that's number 14. Number 15, we're building a dashboard here, which is kind of fun because look, we can click on Accountant, and if you go to Applications, it just filtered it for Accountant. So we're actually doing something on a different worksheet from over here. Okay, let me remove that filter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to create some little functions in here that are going to look at the data all over the place on this worksheet. So it says we're going to count the number of applicants who reached each of those stages in the recruitment process. So how many of them that had a number in there? Okay, so cell E5, what they're going to have us to do is use the subtotal function. Equals subtotal is how you add the subtotal function. And when you open your parentheses, and this is new in the newer version of Microsoft Office here, it gives you an option of choosing what function you want to do. So used to we had to embed 2 functions, like nest a function inside of a function to do this, and now you have to pick which one you want. So the first instruction says in E5 we're going to use it with a count A function to count the number of entries in the applicant ID field. So we're going to push the arrow button down until we get to 3, count A. Count A is to count like text. Count is to count numbers. Okay, so count A is to count text. So once I get that one, I'm going to press the tab key and it puts a number 3 in there. Just know that 3 stands for the count A function. Okay, comma. And then what are we counting? Well, we're counting from the recruits table. So we're going to type the name recruits. See, there it is. It pops up. You can press tab. And then in the recruits table, we're counting the applicant ID. So we put that bracket, oops, not that one, the square bracket, and then applicant ID. I'm going to push my down arrow 1 time and press tab to take that applicant ID. And then bracket on the other side. And then we have to finish the subtotal off. So we need a parentheses, a closed parentheses. Okay, see? So we're going to hit enter, and there was 1,037 applicants, and that's correct. Now, the rest of these cells have numbers or dates or whatever in them, not text. So they're going to use the count function, but it's the same concept, equals subtotal. Okay, open the parentheses, choose count. That's going to be a number 2. Don't hit enter. Remember, it's tab, comma, and then the name of that table. Okay, it was the recruits table. There it is, tab, okay, and then what column from that table, so that's that square bracket. This time we're doing the phone date. You could also like type PH and it will like jump down there, tab, okay, and then the bracket, and then close your parentheses, okay. That's going to give us 782 of those, and then we continue this process. Now we can kind of cheat this one because we're going to be using the count function and we're going to be using the recruits table for all of these. So I'm just going to copy and paste this function all the way down for E6, E7, and E8. Phone manager, offsite, and offers. Those are all going to work. I think. Well, phone screen interview, on-site interview. So these are all the interviews. Let's just do it for those 3 for now. So E6, E7, E8. All right, now it's not going to be 782 because these are going to get smaller for each one. I'm going to double click this. Instead of phone date, this one is that manager whatever. So manager, I'm going to type an M. Oh, there it popped up, so hit tab. Okay, enter. And then this one, again, double click to get into edit mode. Instead of phone date, this one's those on-site interviews. So we need the on-site date. There it is, tab, enter. Okay, we got that one. Now, the next instruction says in cells E9 and E10, use the subtotal function with the count function to count the number of values in the offer date and the acceptance date. Okay, so same situation here. We'll just do it again. Equals subtotal, open parentheses. Okay, we're looking in the recruits table again. Oops. I didn't tell which thing to do. We're using count. There it is. Okay, comma. We're looking in the recruits table again. There it is. Bracket. And then this particular one is offer date. There it is. Bracket. Close parentheses. Okay. And then same situation. I'm just going to copy this down. And then double click here. And instead of offer date, this one will be the acceptance date. There we go. And enter. All right, so we got all of those in there. That's all of number 15. 15 is kind of a long one. That might be something to write down if you can't remember the way that this function works, because it is kind of picky. You have to understand this is the name of that table, because remember we named the table in here. It's the name of the table, and then the name of that column. Okay, number 16. JSEC wants to track certain key performance indexes that indicate the efficiency of the recruitment process. Calculate the following values in cell E11, that's this one. Calculate the number of applicants for each hire by dividing the value in cell E5 by the value in E10. So this is an easy equals E5 divided by E10. So here's how many applicants we had, and here's how many positions we filled. Let's hit enter, about 28.8. per position there. Okay. Then interviews per hire. Let's see what happens on this one. It says in E12, calculate the number of interviews for each hire by dividing the sum of the values in cell E7 and E8 by the value in E10. So we have to sum the values in E7 and E8 first. So equals, and then just put it in parentheses. E7 plus E8, close those parentheses, and then divide those by E10. You could click on it or do like that. Okay, 17.4. All right, so that gives us that information. And next it says over here in F6 to F9, so all of these, we're doing several. Calculate the percent of the original applicants that survived to each step of the process by dividing the number of applicants that made it to each step by the value in E5. So I'm going to say these people got here, and I want to divide this by the value in E5. Now I want to do this on every single one of these. They're all going to be divided by E5. So E5, after I click on it, is going to be an absolute reference. And your keyboard shortcut for that, if you don't remember from computer apps, is F4. It puts dollar signs on them, which means when we copy this down, E6 will update to E7, E7 will update to E8, which is right because we need it to look over here. But this won't update. That will stay put. Okay, so there we go. We got that one in there, and we're just going to pull that down. It said E5 to E10. Oops, that's not E10. Let's go one more. There we go. Okay, so that's all of those that we need there. Okay, finally, for number 16, in the range E5 to E10, so this range, you're going to use conditional formatting to add orange data bars with gradient fills. So conditional formatting is on your Home tab, and we want data bars. But we want gradient data bars, so not solid ones. So here's the solid orange ones, but it wants the orange ones in the gradient section. So we're going to choose that. And that just puts those little bars in there, kind of like a chart. Okay, great. Number 17, I'm going to hit save. Number 17, in the applications worksheet, create a histogram chart of the data in the range P4 to P. So we're going back to applications. I'm selecting a big long range, right? So P4 colon P1041, hit enter so that that whole selection is made. And we're going to create a histogram chart. It's easiest to just go up to your insert here and recommended charts to get to it. And the histogram will be right here. Should be that fourth one, I believe. Well, it's not popping up. Oh, that's a Pareto chart. We can always go to all charts if it doesn't. And then histogram. Here we go. So here's your histogram chart. First one. Okay, so now that we have the histogram chart, we're going to hit OK. It's going to put it in here. And then it wants us to move the chart. Now, there's actually a button to move the chart, but it does not work in here, or it didn't work for me. The instructions in the book, when they explain how to do it, just says to copy paste. So we're just going to copy paste. So Control X to cut, not cut paste. I guess cut paste, not copy paste. And then we're going to go back to metrics, and we're going to Control V to paste. So there it is. It says resize it so that it's H4 to M13. So H4 is there, roughly, and M13, so there's M13. It's kind of hard to see these lines, but I think that's about right. Okay, M13. All right. Change the chart title to Days to Hire. So up here at the top, don't move this around. So just triple click to select it all. Days to Hire. And we're going to add data labels to these bars. So just click in the white space up here for the chart area and hit the plus sign. And then just check mark data labels. So now we have data labels on there. And this is how you would access any of your chart elements. They don't have us change anything here, but you can hover over it and see what different things do. All right, so next it says in the axis options, that's this down here. In the axis options, we're going to be making some changes to the bin of the histogram. Now, sometimes you can see there's a pane that comes up over here, and sometimes there's not. So I'm going to double click down here, and that brings up this pane. So we need this little pane up here. Okay, now that we've double clicked down here, you can see the bins for the axis. If you're clicked on the wrong thing, you won't get those, by the way. You got to make sure you're clicked in the right place. So again, just double click down there. If you click off of it and double click, it should go to the right place. See, like that. Axis options, bins. So they're going to have us to change these bins, so these look a little bit differently. It says to change the histogram's bin width to 5, so the width is going to be a 5. The overflow bin value is going to be a 50, and the underflow bin value is going to be a 25. Okay, so it should look like this, basically. All right, that's pretty much that. You can close out that axis pane there. Now they're going to have us to test out this dashboard. They're calling this a dashboard. Now, first off, remember you should have greater than or equal to 25 here and greater than 50 here at the end. And then each bin is 5, 25, 30, 30, 35, 35, 40, and so forth. So that's why that should look that way. Okay, now we're going to test it out by showing the recruitment statistics for 3 positions. So choose one of them first, programmer. See how all this changes? Because remember, we're filtering the data, but we're pulling that filtered data to create this dashboard. So pretty cool stuff here. You can see for each one we can analyze it. But we want to pick multiple ones. So programmer, and I'm going to hold down Control and then click System Analyst. Notice all this updates because it added the System Analyst in there, and then hold Control and Website Designer. So those will be the 3. You can also click on here as well to multi-select if it's easier for you. But there they are. And so that's pretty much what you should see here at the end. It'll be 1001733. So 1001733 when you have that filtered data in there. And that's pretty much it. So a long, long lesson. There's a lot to this Excel chapter. Make sure you take good notes and let me know if you have questions.